Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is a companion video. What is a companion video? I'm awfully glad that you asked. You see, every day on the John Campea Show, and when we do open mics, we take live questions from the audience, but we don't always have time to get around to all of the questions that get sent in. But I want to make sure that you guys know, if you go through the hassle of sending in a question for those shows live, they do get answered on video, and that's what we're going to do here on the companion video. We're going to take up all those unused questions that we didn't have time for, and we're going to address them here. So, without any delay, let's dive right into it. And the first topic in question we're going to get caught up on comes to us from Jordan Marshall, who writes, "Hey Rob," well, clearly Rob's not here right now. "How are you? With Robservations, do you answer live questions? Because if so, that would be great." Rob does not do live questions on Robservations because Robservations is a pre-recorded, edited show. However, he does do Robservations live. He has, which is kind of like a secondary kind of thing he does. And yes, he does take live questions on those, so keep your eyes open for that. All right. Javier Riaz, 405 writes, "Have you seen Runaway Season 2? It's great. I have seen all of it except the final episode. Ann and I just have to do the final episode now. I've really enjoyed it. I still think I prefer Season 1 a little bit better, but Season 2 was a worthy follow-up. I love this show. If you haven't checked out Runaways, you really should give it a shot." All right. Godzilla Loves Sushi writes, "Now James Wan has two movies that joined the $1 billion club. Does that make him more in demand than James Gunn or Ryan Coogler?" No, absolutely not. Here's the thing. James Wan, while he's got a couple of films in the $1 billion club, remember, they're all built on things that other filmmakers did first, right? You know, whatever. We're talking about his $1 billion films, at any rate. They're all built on franchises that he didn't start. Aquaman was around in the DCEU before the Aquaman movie and all that kind of stuff. Now, that's not to take anything away from him. I'm just saying there's that. With the James Gunn situation, no one ever heard of Guardians of the Galaxy. No one ever even heard of them. Other than the 1% of hardcore comic book geeks, no one ever heard of them. And there was no connection to the MCU. There was none of that kind of stuff. Ryan Coogler's an Academy Award kind of level director. I mean, a number of his movies have gotten awards buzz and awards nominations and things like that. So I would say no, but if I'm a producer at a studio, I'm looking to work with James Wan. I'm certainly looking to work with James Gunn and Ryan Coogler as well. But I'm looking to work with James Wan for sure. Yeah, absolutely I am. But is he more in demand than those two? I don't think so at this point. Not at this point. But he's up there. He's up there. He's definitely, he was the reason I got excited about the Aquaman movie. Because, I liked the idea of Jason Momoa as Aquaman as soon as they announced him. But it's when they said they got James Wan to direct Aquaman, that's when I got really excited about it. And it panned out that way. All right, thanks a lot, Godzilla. All right, Sebastian writes, "Escape Room and The Upside will surprise at the box office." I'm not so sure. I think right now, after a couple of weeks, Escape Room is sitting at like $37 million. The Upside right now is sitting at about $27 million. So I don't think either of those numbers are above expectations as to where they would be right now. The Upside took first place at the box office on its opening weekend. Yay, but it took first place with $19 million. Okay, and I think that's right around where they expected it to be. Maybe a little bit more, but I'm not so sure there'd be enough that you'd say it surprised everybody at the box office. You know what I'm saying? At least not at this point. Devontae Brown writes, "Also, John, you misinterpreted my super chat from a few days ago. I meant for your thoughts on the new jokes Louis C.K. made." Oh, I don't know. I didn't hear the new jokes Louis C.K. made, so I can't comment on it. "Since you stated your rules for comedians before." I don't know that I said I have rules for comedians. But I haven't heard Louis C.K.'s jokes, so at this point I can't comment on it, unfortunately. Sebastian writes, "What do you expect for Glass opening weekend? Review embargo?" Well, the review embargo is already lifted for Glass. And Glass is opening this weekend. I am expecting $62 million. There we go. I'm expecting 60. Universal says they're expecting 50 to 55. Some other places are saying 60 to 70. I'm going to say 62 million. Or around there, give or take $10 million, which would make it the second biggest opening in January history. Think about that. it would make it the second biggest opening in January history. So I think they got to be, if it does come in at 62, I think they got to be pretty happy with that. Kylo, I love that name. Kylo Ren and Stimpy writes, could Fox and Sony have done a Spider-Man/X-Men film before the Sony-Disney deal? Also, does Disney share the rights to Wilson Fisk with Sony? Generally, guys, don't send in 2 questions at once. Just ask 1 question, please. Anyway, the Fox-Sony thing, no, I don't think they would have been allowed to make a Spider-Man X-Men movie. I don't think they would have been allowed to do that. No, they don't share the rights to Wilson Fisk. There are differences between rights to do animated stuff and live action stuff. For instance, right now they've got Spider-Man. Sony has their Spider-Man character in the MCU at the moment. But they can still do animated stuff with Miles Morales. But they can't do a live action Miles Morales. They can't have a second live action Spider-Man doing movies. That would violate the terms of the agreement. So Wilson Fisk, you can have him in animated stuff, but I don't think they can do a live action Wilson Fisk right now. At least I'm not totally sure. And it all depends on how they divvied that up with Netflix, because they got a live action Wilson Fisk on television and there. So it divvied up, but no, they don't just share it. I think each one of them have the rights to do certain things with the character that the other studio can't. So that's how I think the deal works at any rate. All right. Rami J. Royster writes, how do you deal with trolls on the internet? Mostly I ignore them. I mean, look, whenever I hire a new staff person, the first thing I do is I sit down and say, you could have a video of yourself traveling to Antarctica and rescuing beautiful, cute little baby seals from predators. And there will be trolls who will troll you online and say stupid things and whatever. And that's just, look, there's stupid people in the world. And they find their way to the internet and they act stupid. And I gather my new staff together and said, you got to learn to just ignore it. For the most part, you got to learn to just ignore it. It doesn't matter what you do. There's going to be trolls. There just will be. It's just the way it is. And then just remind yourself, you're in a much better place in life than they are. And you're getting to do something that they only dreamed that they could do. And smile about it and laugh at them behind their backs and then move on. I mean, that's really all you can do. So for the most part, I just kind of ignore the trolls just because trolls are going to be trolls. I mean, that's just what they do. Rufino Salazar Jr. writes, Endgame. Yep, I think it's now 98 days. I think we're now 98 days away from Endgame. Cannot wait. Rufino Salazar then writes again, I went to see Bumblebee yesterday and I couldn't help but notice 2 teens doing your butter popcorn trick with the straw. Where is the how-to video? I keep forgetting to do that. Because what he's talking about, many of you guys have heard me say this, but what I do, because I love butter on my popcorn. I love butter more than popcorn. So popcorn to me is just a butter delivery device. And what I do is, if you just pump butter on the top of the popcorn, then once you eat the top little layer of popcorn, there's no more butter. So I stick a straw down, pour butter in through the straw, and then raise the straw up or lower the bag as the case may be. So butter gets distributed evenly. And I got to do a video of that sometime. But it's good to know that kids are catching on to the glory of distributing butter that way. Raymond Verrata writes, would the BAFTAs be an indicator of who wins the Oscars? No. Or would BAFTA voters prefer British arts like Olivia Colman over Glenn Close? I don't really know. I to be quite frank with you, I don't follow the BAFTAs that much. Not that I'm discounting their value, not like the Golden Globes. No, not at all. That's just one I don't pay a lot of attention to. But no, just because something wins at one doesn't necessarily mean that's an indicator that it'll win at the other. It doesn't mean it won't, but I don't think it's necessarily an indicator that it will either. At least that's how I look at it. All right. Keenan Culler writes, thoughts on Slumdog Millionaire? Perfect movie. I don't think it's a perfect movie, but it's a damn good movie. Dev Patel and, first of all, it launched Dev Patel's career, and I really like Dev Patel. But one of the most, male or female, one of the most gorgeous creatures on the face of the earth, male or female, is Frida Pinto. She's a hell of an actress on top of that. But I remember I interviewed Frida Pinto once. I met her at Comic-Con. And look, I meet lots of beautiful actresses all the time. Lots of beautiful women in LA. No big deal. But every once in a while, you come into the presence of a divine deity in such a way that's so beautiful, you just stammer a little bit. Frida Pinto is one of those incredibly, her beauty is beyond description. I mean, she's just stunningly beautiful. But anyway, love Slumdog Millionaire. Fantastic movie. I don't think it's a perfect film, but I think it's a truly great film. All right. Razor's Edge Frisbee writes, I think I asked this the other day, but when Robert's not here, have you caught up with Doomsday Clock? Last 2 issues were freaking fantastic, especially issue number 8. You did ask that the other day when Robert was there, and I think Robert said he hadn't gotten caught up on that yet. So as far as I know, he still hasn't gotten caught up on that. Christopher Sanchez writes, Marvel has earned the right to say, calm the F down, we got this regarding trailers. Well, I don't know. Look, I know for me personally, they've earned my benefit of the doubt. You know, and every once in a while, they'll drop the ball. Iron Man 2, a Thor the Dark World, whatever. Once in a while, they will drop the ball. But by and large, their success rate is through the roof. You're still asking people to pay their money to come watch your movies. So, no, you never have the right to tell the audience to calm the F down. I personally give them the benefit of the doubt. I recommend people give them the benefit of the doubt. But it's not like they are owed the benefit of the doubt. Even Marvel is not owed the benefit of the doubt. But on a personal level, Christopher, clearly I agree. They get my benefit of the doubt until I go in and they prove it otherwise. And while I am not thrilled with the trailers for Captain Marvel, I think they're good. Particularly the newest one. The newest one I think is actually quite good. None of them have been great, in my opinion, but quite good. And I'm very much looking forward to the movie because they get my benefit of the doubt. Let's see. Stubble McShave also asking about the BAFTAs. Have you seen the BAFTA nominations and how do you think BAFTA compares to the Golden Globes and other American awards? I kind of basically put them just below the Oscars. You know, there's the Oscars with the Academy, and then you got like Producers Guild, Directors Guild, BAFTA, a few other bodies like that are the next tier. Then you go down, you got like the Critics' Choice Award, I think is the next tier. And then you go down several levels into hell, and that's where the Golden Globes are. So that's how I think they compare to the Golden Globes. Quite a bit higher. Jared's reviews write, what's interesting about the upcoming Jumanji movie is they don't have to use the same high school students. They can use completely different people. I don't think so. Look, if you're asking people to come back for a sequel, they want to follow up the journey of those kids. I think you do got to use those kids. I mean, from a literal point of view, you don't have to. I suppose you could have, different kids and they go into the same game and now you have different kids taking over the avatars of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Jack Black, Kevin Hart. I mean, you could do that, I suppose, but I don't think that would be a wise move. But who knows? Maybe that's exactly what they're going to do. Let's keep our eyes on that, Jared. All right. K Major writes, John, yesterday you mentioned you didn't like the last scene of The Last Jedi with the kid. I like the movie, but not that scene too. Why didn't you? Because it was so inconsequential. And look, I like The Last Jedi, particularly what they did with Luke. I love the stuff with Luke, but there was a number of things in that movie I didn't like. And that last scene, that's a tiny thing, but still it's a thing. I didn't like to go into the kid because the kid was such an inconsequential, and I get it. The idea is the Force continues to move. I get it. They show the kid reach out his hand, the broom comes to his hand. Okay, I get it. The underlying message there is that no matter how dark things seem in the universe right now, the Force is still at work. I get that, and I appreciate, but I just kind of feel like there were probably other ways it could have gone about that. And going to this kid that was such an inconsequential moment in the movie, and quite frankly, one of the really bad parts of the movie on Canto Bight, I just felt like they could have done something better to make that point. Again, I appreciate the message. I just think there were probably better ways to make the message. So anyway, that's my kind of take on it. All right, let's see here. Odai Aleyamani writes, just recommended you to a friend. Keep on the filthy. Well, thank you so much, Odai. I appreciate that. That is how this channel exists. I don't do any marketing. I don't, put up ads. The only way this channel exists is by you guys telling other people they should check it out. So thank you so much for that, Odai. I really appreciate that. All right. Jared's Reviews writes, and we would get, this is a continuation of your Jumanji thing. Get it? Okay. And we would get different performances from The Rock, Kevin Hart, and the rest since they were based off high school kids in the game. Yeah, I mean, that's something you could do. But quite frankly, I don't think Kevin Hart has the range to act like a totally different kid operating his avatar. I think Kevin Hart was Kevin Hart. I think Dwayne Johnson was Dwayne Johnson. And I think for the sake of that, and Jack Black could play many different characters, but I don't think it would work for the movie. Not with the talent that you have at any rate. That's just my thought on it though. Your best bet writes, hello from the cartoon zone. I don't know what that means, but thank you so much. Thanks. Hello back to you in the cartoon zone. Evil Eye writes, thoughts on Count Dooku and Anakin coming to BF2? I don't know what. Oh, Battlefront 2. Oh, I don't know. I don't care. I don't care. They're just avatars. Who cares? Doesn't mean anything. Cameron W. writes, how long before people realize Solo was actually good? I think a lot of people already do realize. I think a lot of people recognize and acknowledge a lot of people do, that Solo was actually really good. It was still completely unnecessary. I still don't think it's a movie they should have made. But they made it, and Ron Howard came in, took it over, and did a great job. And they made a very fun space adventure movie. It was wonderful. Had a great time with it. Still shouldn't have been made, though, in my opinion. That's just me. Murray Reich writes, I think 1999 is in the conversation for best year in film. American Pie. You know, honestly, I've never been a big American Pie guy, to be honest. Fight Club, great. The Mummy, Tarzan, Blair Witch, Iron Giant, American Beauty, Galaxy Quest. Good year. Good year. I don't know if it's in the conversation for the best personally. I mean, that's a good year. Love Galaxy Quest. I mean, man, my left foot to get a Galaxy Quest 2. Tony Shalhoub, Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver. Now, unfortunately, Snape, the great Snape, Hans Gruber himself, is no longer with us. By the Grabthar's hammer, I will avenge thee. So they would miss him, but I've always wanted another Galaxy Quest movie, man. I've always wanted another Galaxy Quest movie. Murray follows up with, and being John Malkovich, Matrix, American Beauty, Sixth Sense, Green Mile, Austin Powers, Talented Mr. Ripley, Office Space. Ooh, yeah, Office Space was 1999, wasn't it? Stuart Little, 007, South Park, and on. Lots of great movies. Obviously, Matrix, American Beauty are the ones that really stand out. The Green Mile's fantastic. Hold my hand, boss. The great Michael Clark Duncan. In that movie. Yeah, really good year. I still don't know that I put it up there amongst the best personally. But yeah, one hell of a year, man. One hell of a year. And if I'm not mistaken, The Phantom Menace. Wah, wah. Okay. Javier Rios 405 writes, are the upcoming Dark Phoenix and New Mutants movies the last ones for Fox? What about Deadpool 2, X-Force, and Gambit? What are their futures? I think you mean Deadpool 3. Dead. Gone. Dead and gone. Now, of course, earlier this week, you have to forgive me, guys. I'm still getting over a little bit of a cough. It's just the last remnants of it are still kicking in there. Earlier this week on the John Campea show, we talked about how Rob Liefeld, the creator of X-Force, got on social media and pretty much confirmed that X-Force is done. It's not going to get made. They also, in the same report, came out that Gambit was also, it's done. That's not going to get made. Which really makes the future of Deadpool 3 pretty much finished. I think we have seen the last. So sad about this. I think we've seen the last of Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. I don't think we're getting that Deadpool again, which sucks. Which absolutely sucks. But I don't think that's happening either. So yes, I do believe that Dark Phoenix and New Mutants are the final ones we're getting from Fox. Really such a shame. Such a shame. Brian Esparza writes, no First Reformed for your top 10. No, I mean, First Reformed's a very, very good movie. It's one of those movies, though, that to me, the lead performance in it by Ethan Hawke was really what carried that film for me. It's a good movie. It's a solid movie. But the thing that's really exceptional about it, I thought, was Ethan Hawke's performance. And every once in a while, you get one of these movies that you think the performance was actually better than the movie itself. And Ethan Hawke's performance certainly elevates the movie, and I like it. It's a really good movie. But once you get into top 10 territory, I'll throw the performance of Ethan Hawke in there, but not necessarily the movie as a whole. But that's just me. That doesn't mean you shouldn't have it in your top 10, though. Brian Esparza follows up. You were never really here for any category. There's a couple of possibilities. There's Joaquin Phoenix is a long shot, although He should be in the conversation. He should be in the conversation. So it's a long shot. I also think best director. I'm forgetting her name. Damn it. You were never really here. Is it not Leslie? I don't think it's Leslie. What was her name again? Lynn, not Leslie. Lynn Ramsey. Lynn Ramsey directed it. Did a wonderful job. I think there's a very, very, very outside chance that she could. Other than that, not much. So I won't be surprised if we see You Were Never Really Here's name pop up a little bit, but I don't know. It's hard to call at this point. Really hard to call. ZOMG Ruler writes, Feige enjoyed Aquaman. Good for healthy competition. Well, listen, Henry Cavill has talked a lot about, he likes a lot of the Marvel movies. He loves the Marvel movies. We've heard Kevin Feige before talk very glowingly about some of the DC stuff and wanting to see DC succeed because Kevin Feige is smart. And Kevin Feige has said on multiple occasions, hey, I think it's good for us if DC movies do well. It's just better for the overall health of the comic book genre. He thinks, Kevin Feige is on record saying he thinks it's good for them if DC does well. So, yeah, I mean, it's all good. This is nothing new. He said this stuff before, and he's staying with it, and I think it's just the wise way to look at it. Him and Henry Cavill, they know what they're talking about, man. Not that Henry Cavill is going to be Superman anymore. God, I hope he is. I love him as Superman. We Have No Lives writes, this is my 30th birthday today. Any advice? If you had to choose between which gets made first, what would it be? Rock and Roll It 2 or Fight Club 2? Keep on the filthy. I honestly, look, when people say to me, oh, they shouldn't do a sequel of that because there's nowhere left for it to go. I'm like, there's always someplace to go. Especially if one of the reasons you love that original movie is because of the characters. Then it's just great to revisit those characters again, right? But I will say, I would be hard-pressed to imagine where you go with Fight Club 2. I would be very, very hard-pressed to come up with something with where you go with Fight Club 2. Rock and Roller you could easily do. So if one of them was going to get made, not that I think either will, Rock and Roller. That's the one I would go with. Tracy E. writes, how will Aquaman reaching 1 billion change DC? Not at all. Not in the least. Why? Because now they have somebody in charge in Walter Hamada who is not weak. Walter Hamada is not reactionary. He has a plan, and I'll tell you what, Walter Hamada's plan wasn't going to change if Aquaman made $1 billion or if Aquaman was a complete flop and made like $150 million. It wouldn't have changed a thing because Walter Hamada has a plan, and he's going to stick to his plan because he believes in his plan. And so I really don't think Aquaman reaching $1 billion is going to change a thing. Just like I don't think if Aquaman made $50, I don't think it would change a thing. Walter Hamada taking over the DCEU is the change. And it's going to take us a while to see really the full ramifications of his new direction and his leadership. But I think they're definitely off to the right start. They're clearly off to a good start. Because more importantly than Aquaman make $1 billion, and I never thought it would make $1 billion, like ever, that I think that movie is going to make $1 billion. Not at all. But more important than the movie making $1 billion, a lot of people like it. That's a huge step forward for the DCEU. Not everybody liked it, but a lot of people liked it. And I think it's probably the most liked DCEU film other than Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman clearly has more audience support than Aquaman does, but I think it's the second most liked. I still say Man of Steel is the best one they did. But yeah, clearly a lot. But no, it's not going to change a thing. Even if it made $2 billion doesn't change a thing. And even if it made $2 wouldn't change a thing. Because now you got a different guy in charge who's not going to be swayed by all that stuff. Not a reactionist. And that's good for them. All right, Brandon Esparza writes, you inspired me to start a review channel. That's excellent. Good. We need more film fans online adding their voice to the conversation. I want to start making YouTube videos soon too. I'm waiting to get a better editing computer. You know what? To do simple editing and really YouTube videos, movie reviews, very simple editing. You can do it on almost anything. Like unless you got like a really crappy old computer, like really old, really crappy, yeah, then you might want to wait. But really most computers today, because I was doing video editing 9 years ago on The cheapest of the cheap PC laptops today are more powerful than my workstations from 9 years ago, right? So most computers, you can do the editing you need to do. You can do the editing. Don't let that hold you back, man. Don't let that hold you back. All right, Mike Thompson writes, Aquaman, who was the butt of everyone's jokes for decades, could end up being the highest grossing film in the history of any DC character. Just wow. And he is. And just wow indeed. Just wow indeed. A perfect combination of waiting a year to put out the next DCU movie, a move that I criticized a year ago. What's DC doing waiting an entire year before putting out another DC movie? That's stupid. Yeah, that was me. So, and it turned out to be one of the most brilliant things they could have done for many reasons, but it was genius. And a lot of people criticized it at first, including me. But that, the right director, a hot star, and a brilliant marketing campaign. A lot of Aquaman's success is about their marketing campaign. The marketing campaign was prima. Like, I remember when Comic-Con hit and that Aquaman trailer dropped, and I'm like, forget about it. Best trailer of Comic-Con right there, easy. That trailer by itself wins Comic-Con. I was so stoked about it. I think a lot of people were, and they just continued to put out great stuff. Then they did that 5-minute trailer, and they conducted that marketing campaign like a symphony, and it was perfect. They hit all the right notes and got people excited about it, and none of it would have meant anything if the movie was crap. The movie was good, and people enjoyed it, and it was just a perfect combination of things, and who would have guessed? But here we are, and good on them. Good on them. Jordan Benjamin writes, have you guys heard the rumors of an episode 9 scene, Han and Leia dropping Ben off to Act 2 to Luke in a flashback? Gotta hope we get the big 3 union. No, and honestly, Jordan, I tell you guys this all the time. Ignore all these script leak rumors. 99.9% of the time, it's all BS. It's all BS. And of course, many of you, now that I said 99.9%, you're saying, so you're saying there's a chance. Well, I suppose, but I would ignore all that. To be honest with you, such a scene, to me, would feel like very cheap pandering. To me, we don't need to see a scene of Han and Leia dropping off Ben. We don't need to see it. We know it happened, right? And we know it's not necessary to the movie. Don't use up screen time doing unnecessary stuff. I would have liked it if Carrie was still alive, but now if you did it, I know it's not really Carrie Fisher doing that scene. I know Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher didn't actually get together on a set to record that scene together. It's just going to depress me knowing that Carrie's not there. So, and again, from a narrative point of view, I just don't see the need for that. So, unless there's an overwhelming, compelling narrative reason to do it, I kind of actually hope they don't. That's kind of where I'm at right now. All right. Jordan Benjamin writes, also, I've been doing fan art of my favorite pundits, making them superheroes and villains or Star Wars characters. What can I draw you guys as? Thanks. Oh, man. Thank you for asking. I love it when people send me stuff like that. Whatever you want, Jordan. Whatever you want. You just go nuts. I don't know. Do me as Captain Canada. So like Captain America, but make the outfit Canadian based. That would be great. I'd love to see that. Let me know when you got something like that done. I'd love to see it. All right. Cinematic Galaxy. By the way, I've got a few talents. We all have a few talents. The talents that I desperately wish I had, that I do not have at all, is artistic talent. I cannot draw. I honestly, if somebody said you can have $1 million or not even the world's best, but a good solid drawing skill, I would probably take the drawing skill. I kid you not. I'd probably take the drawing skill. I would love to draw. I wish I knew how to draw, and I cannot draw worth crap. So that's awesome that you're able to do that, Jordan. All right. Cinematic Galaxy writes, Robert Meyer Burnett, who's not here, what did you think of Mary Poppins? We did talk about once. I don't think he was all that fond of it, kind of like me. I thought it was okay. It wasn't a bad movie, but it wasn't good. Like, I didn't think it was all that good either. So I think he thinks the same as me, but I'll have to double check with him sometime. All right. Matthew Grant writes, can the rest of the crew come up and say hi? Well, we had the crew come out and say hi on the show a couple of days ago. So even without your super chat, we actually did that. So yeah, we did have the crew come out and say hi. Let's see. Ramsey Hamdi writes, "Hey guys, thank you for all the hard work. I'm hoping the next big bad after Thanos is Kang, and ultimately Marvel ends the MCU with Galactus. What are your wants for bads in the next phases and who ends it? Really don't care who the bad guy is. Really don't care. Just give me a good story." And I am different, Ramsey. I don't want, now get a bigger bad guy. Now get a bigger bad guy. Now get a bigger bad guy. I don't think that's the way movies have to be and storytelling has to be. I think you need to shift gears. I don't think if every movie is save the planet, save the universe, save the planet, save the universe, it gets a little fatiguing. And they've done a good job crescendoing and bringing it back up and down. I don't think now you have to go Kang, you don't have to go Galactus, go smaller scale. I think it'll make for a better movie. Honestly, I do. I think it would make for a better movie to do things that way. So that's just my thought on it. I really don't care. All I care about is good story. That's all I care about. Nothing else really matters. Would I have wanted the Winter Soldier would Winter Soldier have been my first pick for the Captain America sequel? No. But I'm so glad they did because it was awesome. It fit the story. Do not start with the character. Start with the story to me. Don't go, the next movie has to have so-and-so as the villain. Now write a story around that. I think that's the wrong approach. What's your story you want to tell? Then which villain that is at your disposal can you fit in there that best matches the story? Stories do not serve the characters. Characters serve the story. That's kind of the way I see it. So anyway, let's see. Spark the writes, think you can find others. Was Coulson not Talos? I'll be honest with you, Spark. I'm sorry about that, dude. I'm not quite sure what it is you're referring to. Salah Panchad writes, hated a Quiet Place movie. You hated that everyone loved. Oh, you hated A Quiet Place, which I thought was the best movie of 2018. But that's the subjectivity of film, man. Not every movie's going to hit everybody the same way. You watched it, you didn't like it, no problem. That sucks. I wish you did, but you didn't, and that's okay. But a movie that I hated that everyone else loved, the big one is always the original Blade Runner. And all my friends, they look at me like they want to kill me when I say that. But it's true. I wish I could be cool. And I could lie to you guys and say, oh, I love Blade Runner. But all I can ever be with you guys is honest. And I recognize it's a masterpiece of the genre that everybody loves. I recognize its place in history. But I just got to be honest. It did not work for me. Like A Quiet Place didn't work for you. Blade Runner didn't work for me. Let's see. Froygon Jin writes. Where is Froygon Jin? Oh, there he is. Froygon Jin writes, Hamada is doing a great job of rehabilitating the DCEU. Over under 15%. The next Justice League movie doesn't feature either Superman or Batman. I wouldn't go over 50%. But 15, I'll go over on that. What's been their biggest hits to date? Movies that don't involve Batman and Superman. Wonder Woman and Aquaman. You know, I mean, Batman vs. Superman did bigger numbers, but it's also kind of hurt the DCEU. A lot of people got turned off the DCU as a result of Batman vs. Superman. But people really liked Wonder Woman, and they really liked Aquaman. So I would not be willing to say over 50% chance that the next Justice League, whenever that is, doesn't have a Batman or a Superman, but I would go over 15. Yep. I do believe it's a distinct possibility. I think you're going to see DC right now kind of leaning away from Batman and Superman. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Lucas Foster writes, opening weekend box office, Endgame or Episode 9? I'm going to say Endgame at this point. Endgame just seems like the safer bet right now. It's on a little bit of a hotter streak. The MCU, I'll tell you who wins the opening weekend. Disney. Disney wins. Disney is happy. Either or. I think the MCU is on a harder streak right now than Star Wars at the moment. They're both going to be giant. They're both going to make ridiculous amounts of money that people should blush at. But I would say Endgame at this point. All right. Rose Pit Shark Hunter. What an interesting name. Writes, something I don't understand is when someone says it's not just a good insert genre of film here movie. It's a good movie in general. If a film does what it does well, shouldn't that just be a good movie in general? Not necessarily. No, I totally see what people are talking about when they say that, because, there are movies that are good for what it is. There are movies that are good for what it is. Let me just give you a random example, okay? There's very, very little DC animated stuff or Marvel animated stuff that I particularly like, to be honest with you. I don't like most of it. There are a couple of exceptions. One of the exceptions on the DC end is Red Hood. One of the exceptions or under the Red Hood, one of the exceptions on the Marvel side is Doctor Strange. So let's take Doctor Strange, the animated movie, for an example. I think it's good for what it is. For an animated film on that level, it's good for what it is. Would I say, man, but that's a good movie? Like in the same way that I would say that You Were Never Really Here is a good movie, or the way that I would say, pardon me, A Quiet Place is a good movie. The way I would say Infinity War is a good movie. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't put it on the same level as that. But I thought it was good for a animated superhero movie. Within that context, I think it does its job and it does it well. But when I say good movie in general, you're talking about another level. So, and I think when you're talking about, like, I heard a number of critics talk about Bumblebee and say, hey, it's not just a good Transformers movie, it's a good movie because Transformers, the expectation levels are so bad for Transformers that you could look at it and go, hey, that was pretty damn good for a Transformers movie. But Bumblebee isn't just good for a Transformers movie. It's a good movie, right? So I can totally see what people are talking about when they use that terminology. I see where they're going with it, and I understand where they're going with it. So, yeah, I get it. Because sometimes you can talk about things for its lane, right? There are certain little horror movies that I really like for little horror movies. For a little horror movie, man, that was pretty good, or blah, blah, blah. But would I go see that over other movies that I would just in general say are good movies? Yeah, maybe not. And then there are little horror movies, like, for instance, Get Out, that isn't just good for a little low-budget horror movie. It's a good movie, right? So I think there's different ways we can look at that and define it. And it all depends on the person talking, because all of us use different semantic equations for how we define and describe different things. But when somebody says something like that, Ross, I get what they're saying, and I have no problem with that. Okay, let's see where we're at here. Ismail Edu writes, John, would you direct a film again? Yeah, I would. But I'll be honest with you. And I remember after I did the anniversary, I got offered a film by a recognizable movie personality. I'll just leave it at that. I was offered a movie. There was this actor who you would recognize. I'm not a big A-lister, but you would recognize this actor. An actor came to one of my screenings. Really liked the film, and he and I had a mutual friend. And he reached out to me through our mutual friend, asked if I would go and meet with them. Because this actor had a script that they had developed and wanted to know if I'd be interested in directing it. The script was not good. But I remember thinking, but shouldn't I just direct it because it's blah, blah, blah. And I remember I talked to a couple of buddies of mine. The guys who directed Jason Statham's Crank movies, Neville Dean and Taylor. I talked to Brian and Mark, and just to get their guidance. Is this something I should do? And they're like, man, if you're super passionate about directing, you just want to direct just because you want to direct, fine. But you got to be happy with what you're directing. And I looked at it and I was just like, okay, no, then I'm not going to. And I didn't do it. And I've never really had an opportunity to direct again since, which is fine. I'm really more interested in writing something again, but really more than anything else, I'm more interested in producing. I think I really found my love in producing. And I like doing that stuff. So I like working on stuff on that level. But hey, if the right thing came along and I had the opportunity and whatever, I think like a lot of people, like a lot of you guys, I'm sure too, would be interested in it. And I guess so would I too, under the right circumstances. All right. Dropkick Aggie writes, Peter/MJ romance would be great. She overflows with confidence, but I sense some vulnerability when she's talking to Peter. Excited for this film. The really neat thing about this Zendaya, and I never know how you pronounce her name. Is it Zendaya or is it Zendaya? I don't care. Whatever. Zendaya. I'll say Zendaya. Who, by the way, was actually really good in Greatest Showman. I liked her quite a bit in Greatest Showman. Anyway, I like that character. I like this MJ character. Not Mary Jane, but it's an MJ. She's this tough on the exterior, but riddled with insecurities. And I find those types of characters intriguing. And she exposes those insecurities. And you get a little bit of that in the trailer. Yeah, I'm curious to see where they go. Look, I'll be honest with you, though. In Spider-Man Homecoming, I really much preferred the dynamic and the chemistry between Peter and Michael Keaton's daughter. I like that relationship. I wanted to see that relationship go somewhere, but I'm intrigued about this one as well, especially after seeing the trailer. Okay, Christian Alante writes, older Avengers Tower is being rebuilt in the trailer. Yeah, a number of people have noticed that and pointed that out. Don't know what it's going to be. I don't believe it's going to be the Baxter Building, because this movie was already well in development and all that kind of stuff long before the Disney deal with Fox. So I don't think that's it. A lot of it could be an Oscorp. Could be Oscorp. Could be something else. It'll be curious to see what they're doing with that building. And who knows? Maybe it will be a Baxter Building. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But it is intriguing. Let's see. Corey Skibba writes, the Far From Home international trailer shows the suit in Peter's suitcase. Yes, and I haven't watched the international trailer, to be honest with you. But I believe there are some people saying that in the international version of the trailer, you see Aunt May putting Peter's suit in the suitcase. So, yes, indeed, as a lot of us suspected anyway, he did bring his Spider-Man suit to Europe. Now, is it one of those stupid, pathetic Iron Man Jr. suits? Or is it a real Spider-Man suit? We'll have to wait and see. You know what I'm hoping for. I just want a Spider-Man suit, not this ridiculous Iron Man Jr. suits. Javier Belmer writes, finished watching the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer for the umpteenth time. So excited. Colorful, fun, breath of fresh air, self-contained. Your thoughts? I love the trailer. And granted, it's a first trailer, but man, it was real good for a first trailer. Like, really good for a first trailer. Certainly better than a lot of the first trailers we've been getting lately. I thought it was much better than the first Captain Marvel trailer. I thought it was better than a lot of the first trailers that we get these days. They went a little bit further, a little bit more above and beyond for their first trailer. So it'll be interesting to see where we go. I love the Mysterio stuff. Again, he looked a little bit to me like an Asgardian. That's fine, whatever. It looks like he's using actual magical powers, but maybe that's just an illusion. I don't know. It's cool seeing Jake Gyllenhaal in a comic book movie, man. It's just great seeing him there. So, yeah, I'm quite happy. As a fan, I am quite happy with that Far From Home trailer. All right. Steve G454 writes, people complain so much when an octopus plays drums in Aquaman, but when an ant does it at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp, it gets very little complaint. Steve, what planet do you live on? What planet do you live on? Dude, I was complaining about that was a stupid way to end the movie. I heard when they showed it in the trailer, tons of people complained about it in the trailer. I'll tell you what, more people complained about that stupid, idiotic ants playing drums thing. Although they at least explained it in the movie a little bit, why they had the ant doing that. And fine, I appreciated that, but I still think it was dumb. There was far more people talking about that than about the octopus playing drums. I complained about them both, but I think by far there were more people complaining about the ant, rightfully so, because they even made that stupid ant thing one of the post-credit scenes. It's like, really? We sat around for that? We waited through the credits for that? Yeah, I think there were more people complaining that, infinitely more, and rightfully so. Thunder Knight writes, just cast Sting as the Crow. Yeah, well, for those of you who don't know who he's talking about, Sting, he's not talking about the musician, the singer Sting. Don't stand so close to me. No, not that guy. He's talking about the professional wrestler Sting, who I believe is approaching 60 years old, so I don't think... But the wrestler Sting, for a period of time, like in the 90s, his whole wrestling gimmick was the Crow. He was painted up like the Crow. All like it was very Roar the black long jacket that went down to his feet, and he did the whole Crow motif thing. So that's why Thunder Knight is talking about that. If it wasn't approaching 60 or maybe even already, you know what? I got to look this up now. How old is Sting? How old is Sting? Oh my God. He's almost 70. No. No, that can't possibly be. That can't possibly be. Hold on a second. When was he born? Okay, he was born in 1959, so 40, 50, 60. Wow. He's 59. So he's approaching, he's just about 60. So he's 59. That other Sting must have meant that I looked up that said 67. That must have meant the singer Sting. But anyway, the professional wrestler Sting is, as I thought, approaching 60. He's 59 years old, approaching 60. So I know you're just joking anyway, but you can't even go, but wait a minute, maybe he could be. Nah, he's almost 60, he couldn't do it. Trey Wright writes, just bought Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman 4K. Gonna miss Snyder Vision. Slow build storytelling, similar to Blade Runner and Watchmen. Movies had potential for awards. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Now, you know me, Man of Steel, to me, greatest DCEU movie of all time. A top 10 greatest comic book movie of all time. I love Man of Steel. Batman vs. Superman. But the fact of the matter is, half the people didn't like Man of Steel. Half the critics didn't like it. Half the audience didn't like it. Then Batman vs. Superman, that wasn't going to win any awards. That was not going to win any awards. So, hey, it is what it is, though. It is what it is. That Man of Steel movie, though, man, that's always going to be a real special movie to me. Always going to be a really special movie to me. All right. Panico Mundial writes, I'm fine with paying more for Netflix or Disney Plus if the content is there. I don't support services with less content like CBS All Access. I'm waiting for these to fold into Netflix. There's my balance. Well, they're not going to fold into Netflix. That's just not going to happen. Here's the interesting thing, Panico, is that Netflix is in real trouble here. And I'll tell you why Netflix is in trouble. All the studies have shown the vast majority of Netflix's viewership is not watching their original movies or their original TV shows. The vast majority, I believe the last number I saw was around 70%. The vast majority of the people who watch Netflix are watching older television shows. They're watching television shows that are from other networks and they're just curated there on Netflix. Netflix, the reason Netflix is putting billions and billions and billions of dollars into creating original content is because Netflix knows there is a day coming when all those content providers are going to take their shows back. Like the number one show on Netflix right now is The Office. But guess what? NBC is going to be launching its own streaming service. What happens if, NBC Universal decides to, we're just going to take The Office back and put it on our streaming service? And what happens when everybody else starts doing that as well? Netflix is spending all this money on original programming right now because they know a day is coming where they're going to lose all that other stuff, and they're going to try desperately to get people watching their original content. So no, you're not going to see everything fold into Netflix. You're not going to see that happen. CBS All Access I did get because I really did want to watch Star Trek Discovery. So I got CBS All Access just for that. But like you, that's the reason I haven't gotten the DC streaming service yet, because I'm not going to get it to watch one show. Especially a show that I didn't think looked any good. Now, I've heard a number of people say that Titans is actually pretty good. That's great, but it didn't look very good to me. So I thought, I'm not going to get this streaming service just for one show. Once they put Swamp Thing up there, because they're developing a Swamp Thing show, then they'll have Swamp Thing, and they'll have Titans, and hopefully by then they'll have some more stuff. Then I'll subscribe. So I can totally see where you're coming from on that. Bryant Diaz writes, I watched Infinity War with subtitles last night, and Peter says he's on a trip to the MoMA, so that settles the rumor about coming home from Europe. Yeah, I don't know why anybody... See, here's the thing. There's been this theory around that when we meet Peter in Infinity War, he's first on that school bus, right? And they're coming back from a field trip. There's been this ridiculous theory that that's them coming back from the European trip. Oh, so Spider-Man Far From Home takes place before Infinity War because the beginning of Infinity War is when Peter's coming back from his trip to Europe. And I've always told people, guys, he's on a school bus. They're clearly not coming back from a European trip. You don't pick up 40 kids from the airport on a school bus with no place for their luggage. Because those school buses don't have luggage compartments under. They didn't. That's not it. But yes, the field trip he was on was at the Museum of MoMA, is the Museum of Modern Art. That's where they were at. And yes, that does kill that theory. So thank you for bringing that up, Brian. All right, let's see here. What else we got? Lily Chen writes, hey, Robert, Eli here. Han and Gazelle had it coming. Good on you, Lily. Good on you. I completely agree. Robert and I have been having this debate back and forth. He's like, justice for Han. I'm like, hashtag Han had it coming. It's been a great back and forth between us. Spark the writes, Spider-Man Far From Home passport also shows his date of birth as the first appearance of Spider-Man. Yeah, that's something I missed completely at first. A lot of people have been mentioning that I, of course, brought up his passport that you see in the trailer because they CGI'd out the year. But I overlooked the fact that they have the date, his date of birth, as the actual date without the year, the date of the Spider-Man first appearance. And that's something I missed and a lot of other people brought to my attention. So thanks for bringing that up, Spark, because that's a really cool thing they did. Caledon Sound writes, probably been mentioned 50 times by now, but just tuned in. Fury is recruiting new heroes after Avengers' death/disband. Mysterio is recruited as a hero. Hydro-Man/magic, etc. are all illusions, ulterior motive. Well, like I said during my trailer review, that I think Mysterio is pulling a Syndrome from The Incredibles. Because remember, Syndrome sent out the mechanical monsters just so he could fight them himself to look like a hero. I think there's a little bit of that. I think these elemental creatures, water, earth, fire, we see these elemental creatures, I think they're all from Mysterio to set himself up to look like the new hero on the block. I think Samuel Jackson is onto that. I think he knows there's something. I don't think he's there recruiting for new Avengers because remember, Spider-Man technically is already an Avenger. He got made an Avenger. Tony made him an Avenger, so he's an Avenger. So no, I don't think he's there on a recruiting trip. I think he's just there, and Spider-Man's there, so he goes to Spider-Man for help since he's already there. I think, but I don't know that. I mean, it could be one of a million other things. I don't know that, so we'll have to just wait and see. But all I know is I'm excited to see this movie, man. I am excited to see this movie, Caledon. All right, last couple of questions here, guys. Jubilera writes, have you seen True Detective Season 3 premiere thoughts? No, I've got to finish off. There's a couple things I need to do. I certainly need to finish off Runaways. I got to get that under my belt. Then there's one or two other things I got to get on first, and then I will get around to True Detective Season 3. So, but I mean, you got Mahershala Ali starring in it, who's amazing. So good in Green Book. And everything he's in. I'm looking forward to seeing him in Alita Battle Angel as well. But nope, haven't had a chance to see it yet, so hopefully I'm going to like it a lot. Opinionated Uploads writes, my favorite all-time villain is Satan from the 1980s movie Legend with Tom Cruise. So poetic and majestic. I was in awe the first time I saw it. I'll be honest with you, that's another movie that I know a lot of people who really, really treasure that movie, like really treasure Legend. I never thought it was bad, but it's just one of those movies to me that I didn't necessarily, I've never actually loved it. Like I never once thought, I should do tonight on a Saturday night. I got a home alone tonight. I'm going to pop in Legend. Like it's like, I remember watching it. I remember going, that was okay. That was all right. And that's about it. It never had the same special place to me that a lot of people I know, Legend holds a really special place to them. It was never that for me. So intriguing, but I'm glad. Thanks for sharing that opinion, and I appreciate that. All right. Caledon Sound writes, also, Stark Tower is being reconstructed. Yeah, that's been covered in the Far From Home trailer. Baxter Building, Oscorp, Fisk Tower. Which of these, which is the most and which is the least likely? I think the most likely is probably Oscorp. I think Oscorp is probably the most likely. I think the least likely is Baxter Building. Once again, because Spider-Man was in the works prior to the Disney-Fox deal ever becoming a thing. So that doesn't mean I think it's impossible. I do not think it's impossible. I'm just saying, if you're asking me which is the most likely and which is the least, I think all of these are possibilities, but I think the most likely is Oscorp. The least likely is probably the Baxter Building. All right. Final question here, guys. Fine Nguyen writes, critics say Sopranos is stereotypical on Italians. Oh, it is. It is. There are numbers of stereotypes and a number of negative stereotypes about Italian. I am Italian. My real name is Giovanni. There are a number of stereotypes and negative stereotypes in it. But, hey, it is what it is. You know, some things are stereotypes for a reason. Some things are stereotypes for a reason. Like, I can't get mad at somebody and go, oh, you're Italian, you must like spaghetti and meatballs. Totally stereotypical thing to say. But what can I say? I do love spaghetti and meatballs. So, you know, what do I have to do with that? Some stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason. So it's never bothered me. I've totally recognized some of the stereotypes they've used in Sopranos when I watched it, but I get it. Some stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason. If you avoid all the stereotypes, they wouldn't really feel all that Italian. Now, you don't have to agree with me, and that's fine. You don't need to agree with me, and that's totally fine. But yeah, I recognize that they do use a number of stereotypes, some of them negative stereotypes, but hey, it works for the show. And I've never taken offense at it. It's just telling a story. It's a TV show about some characters that aren't real. So I'm personally totally good with it. All right, guys, that will do it for this installment of our companion videos. Now, there are still some outstanding questions that I need to get around to, and we will do those in another companion video coming up in the next day or two. Keep your eyes open for that. Hey, guys, I want to let you know as well, for those of you who are Patreon supporters, first of all, thank you so much for being Patreon supporters. You make this channel possible. But we are launching a new weekly podcast, me and Robert, with a special guest now and then. It's going to be called Best of the Week, which is going to be, it's just going to be a little podcast of us talking about our favorite movie news stories of the week, like our favorite story that came out this past week, but also our favorite things that aren't connected to the movie world. Like whether it's a new favorite hot toy or a new favorite, show that popped up, or a new favorite smartphone that came out that I just love because I'm a tech guy. And we're just going to talk about our favorite things that happened to us this week and stuff like that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And our first episode is this week. It's on Friday. And our special guest is going to be the newest team member of the John Campea show, and that's Ashley Whalen. She's actually a production assistant. She wasn't hired to be an on-camera talent, but I've been wanting somebody for a long time to do the reading of the questions because it gives me less things to speak. Because at the end of the day, once you go through all the emails and then all the super chats, it's 6 or 7 pages worth of reading. And I tried to get Ray to do the reading. You guys remember that? Before the new year, I had Ray do the reading. He did not want to do it, and he refused to have the camera on him. It's like, okay, so he doesn't want to do it. So when we hired Ashley, I asked her, hey, would you be okay getting on camera and doing the reading? She was like, yeah, no problem. And so we're going to get to know her a little bit on the first podcast and find out what was her favorite thing from this week. Hope you guys who are Patreon supporters, make sure you join us for that. All right, guys, that will do it for me for this installment of the companion videos. Thanks so much for being here. My name is John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.